Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Renegade Reviews. These are your comic book reviews for New Comic Book Day of July 11th, 2018. Chief and Spin here with you. We're going to be bringing you your reviews.
That's right. We got some good books. There were some good books this week, man.
Oh, man, there were some good books. And this week we got our first Zenescope.
Yeah, and I haven't got it yet, but Spin got it today. We just got it. It's like hot off the press. So.
It is hot off the press. Like, they literally sent it to me not too long ago. Zenescope will now be giving us books every single week. They got a couple things that are coming out down the pipe that are really interesting that they have coming. I'm pulling this out here. First, tomorrow they're going to have Grim Tales of Terror, Volume 4, Number 5 being released.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, and it's their horror anthology series. So with that, you can pick up any of those issues, and it's you don't have to get issue 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, the art is usually pretty awesome on those books, and you get a lot of Campbell stuff with those covers.
Definitely do.
Pretty. I have never really read Zenescope, but I'm looking forward to getting my hands on the first ones.
So the first one that they actually sent me is what's coming out.
Oh, there goes
your neighbor mowing his lawn again.
I'm telling you, every time we record, he does it on purpose. He knows when I'm going to record. He knows our nights or something, and now he just does it every fucking time. Oh, I swore, but I don't care. I don't even know if we're on that radio thing anymore. Are we still on that? I don't even know.
I don't know. No, not really. No.
Man, well, fuck it.
Actually, looking at it, reading this email, actually, the Zenescope book that they sent me is actually going to be released next week. Not this week. It's actually going to be released next week, and it's called Revenge of Wonderland. So I'm actually going to hold off my review on that until next week.
Oh, all right then.
Because I don't want to, to spoil anything before it comes out next week.
Right.
But I will say the artwork in that book is amazing. So definitely check out Revenge of Wonderland next week. Next week I'll give you my full review on it. It's a really I'm a huge Chief knows I'm a huge fan of Alice in Wonderland.
Oh yeah.
I'm a huge fan of anything
those twists on all those fairy tales and stuff are pretty cool anyway. I'm kind of wanting to check it out.
Can you yell at your neighbor and be like, "Hey, fuck nut"?
He doesn't even speak English, this guy, and he hates my guts.
And that's why he knows every time we're going to record, he goes out there to mow his damn lawn.
Yeah, and he does it right outside my window first, so he makes sure that he ruins every recording we do.
Oh, my God. So you got that coming out. In addition, they're also going to have next week Grim Fairy Tales Volume 2, Number 18. That'll be coming out. So next week, we're going to be bringing you a lot of Zenescope reviews. We are now on the review list. And I can't wait to get into these. Zenescope pulls their inspiration a lot from classic fairy tales, public domain fairy tales, and puts a new spin on them. So everything from Little Red Riding Hood, Alice in Wonderland, Robin Hood, Beauty and the Beast, all those old Grimm's tales and fairy tales. That's how they draw their inspiration. And then it's Wizard of Oz they do. So it's really interesting the takes they take on these characters and give,
Robin Hood. Did you mention Robin Hood? I think they do Robin Hood too.
Robin Hood, yep, they do Robin Hood. So a really interesting third party publisher with Zenescope, and I'm looking really forward to reading more, especially after what I read today, which I'll review next week. But let's go ahead. Let's pull up. Go ahead with the IDW, Chief.
All right. This week, IDW, the only thing I got to, but it was actually a pretty good-sized book, was their haunted horror series. I'm trying to pull it up right now. I don't know why it's not pulling up. Okay. I got that. Okay. I got it right here. Haunted Horror number 34. You got your little crypt keeper guy. His name Mr. Carswell. He's kind of like the crypt keeper and the old witch. He's kind of But basically, this book is basically like Golden Age horror reprints. Like the first story is called Dinner for One. It's about a cannibal, but it's from the Tormented #1, July 1954. And like it's just a bunch. It's like a what do you call it? I don't know why the easy fucking word is escaping me right now, but it's just a mashup of a bunch of different stories from different old Golden Age horror books. Like the next one's called A Tall Warm Drink. It's about a vampire, mysterious adventure number 16, 1953. Like these are all like pre-code horror stories from comic books, and they're pretty violent, and it's right up my alley, man. Because I love EC comics. I love Golden Age horror. Anything like Tales from the Crypt, Haunt of Fear, Vault of Horror. I will buy any of that stuff if I find it. It's pretty rare for me to find.
Right.
The guy's coming back with his mower again. Hopefully he'll stay away from the window. No, these are some great classic reprints of old Golden Age stories. That they've got one of it's a guy in the mountains, and he's a guide for this rich hunter, and he ends up betraying the hunter guy, and he kills him and takes his money, and then like the other guide they had with him there tries to get revenge on him for killing the guy, and he kills that guy too. But it's a Tibetan monk, and he puts a curse on him with a prayer wheel.
Uh-huh.
So, like all these weird little heads like start growing off of his body, like little accusatory heads that talk, like grow out of his body, and he starts cutting them off. And they find him in the snow, and they take him to the hospital, and one of them eventually gets free of his body and apparently strangles him or cuts his throat or something, and he dies mysteriously. They got another one here, Tales of Horror number 9, 1954. It's a story about a cruise ship. It came from the bottom of the world. It's about Neptune really exists, and because a guy won't honor him, he drowns him in the ocean. But pretty good stuff, man. Like I said, if you're a fan of Golden Age horror, like I am, like I'm a huge fan of, I used to actually have a huge stack of these old EC books when I was a kid that my uncle gave me.
Right.
They've gotten destroyed by a younger cousin, and over the years I've lost them all. But I'm starting to build them back up. I've got one each of the 3 horror titles from EC right now, vintage copies. And but this is great, man. Like just for reading copies of these old stories, this is totally up my alley. So if you dig old Golden Age horror, IDW is kicking some ass right now. It's actually from Yo. This must be like another publishing house under IDW, but Yo Comics, YOE. But these compilations of these stories are pretty cool, and it's not just all like a reprint of like one issue. It's several different stories from over several different books in different years, all kind of compiled together. And I kind of dig it. They've kind of set it up the way the old EC books are. Like you got the Mr. Carswell introduces the book at the beginning. Like there's a page of him introducing the stories, and then it just jumps right into the stories, man. But pretty good scans of these old books too, and it even says in the credits page up here, if you collect horror comics and other Golden Age fare, we're always looking for scans for use in our books and comics. Please contact Craig Yo through Facebook. So Craig Yo must be behind Yo Comics.
Cool.
But yeah, you can submit your own, and I've got a few of these. I should probably scan them and send them in. Oh, there he's back. He's back. You're going to hear a constant buzz, everybody, and I apologize. My asshole neighbor refuses to not do this while we're recording. Every week now. It's been every week now for like, what, 3 weeks?
Something like that, yeah.
He's a dick. I hate that guy.
We should change it up and see if on other days if he'll, if we do it on a different day, if he'll do it.
I don't think he'll do it Monday. I don't think he'll do it on a Monday. Because I don't even recall seeing him outside. I think he might work nights or something on Monday. He's not around. I don't know, but I don't think he'll be out there doing anything on Monday. But lately we've been busy and we've been pushing it off. You've been doing GTA. I've been doing other shit.
Yeah, tune in this Friday for a lot of GTA news.
Oh, also, as we record this, it won't matter to you now, but I hear that Milton and Djibouti are doing Chang and Bill tonight.
Oh, very nice.
On GTA on Twitch. So,
if I'm not too tired, I'll be on Astrid over on Rivalry.
Oh, I am probably going to miss the live Djibouti broadcast, but I'll watch the archive version later.
Cool.
I need to get into Twitch, and I need to catch up on Milton. I need to catch up on our page. I still haven't gotten to see much of our page yet.
Yeah, and our page is booming.
And I am probably a month behind on Djibouti stuff. So I've just been busy as hell lately, and I haven't been able to get to watch it. I don't really have time to sit down and devote 3 hours to Twitch.
No, I completely understand that. So moving on, that was your only one from IDW this week?
Yeah, it was a pretty big issue though. It's really good. I would say definitely from IDW. I looked through a couple other books, but I didn't get a chance to read the whole things. But this is definitely more up my alley. So this would definitely be my IDW pick of the week. This was a nice surprise to get all this Golden Age horror in one book. So like I said, anybody digs that, go out and get this series because man, I was thinking it might have been news stories when I first looked at it. I thought this might be news stories from like somebody's trying to write in the style of EC or something, or write in the style of these old books. And no, it's just reprints from actual published old Golden Age horror, and it's great, man. So highly recommend that one. We're moving on to Boom now.
Moving on to Boom. Let's move on to Boom.
And the only one over there that I got to read this week, there's a couple I wanted to talk about because let me open the actual page. I'll get to the review and then I'll talk about the other one. The one that I really like, and I would say over even as much as I like some of the DC stuff this week, whenever this book comes out, whatever day this book comes out in the month, it's always my pick of the week.
Right.
Because it's just artwork fantastic, story is fantastic. It's totally original. I've never really read a book like it. In a weird way, it kind of reminds me of the Nemesis, Warlock Nemesis books from 2000 AD, from way back.
Right.
But it's called Coda. If you haven't, I've been reviewing these the last couple times they've been out. This is issue 3. It's by Simon Spurrier, Matthias Bergara. You got the main cover by Matthias Bergara, intermix cover Julian Totino Tedesco, and the incentive cover is Tony Infante, colorist Michael Duig, and letterer Jim Campbell. This one, the synopsis, I'll just go ahead and read the synopsis because this will do it better than me rambling, and then I'll talk about why I like it.
All right.
The synopsis is Hum returns to Ridgetown only to find the city under siege by Thundervale, which is the big war machine with the troll dragging it that I talked about last time.
Right.
A bandit city that rests on the back of the last living giant. It's a giant, apparently. Hum manages to get back inside of the city he came from. When the outer wall is breached by the enemy, all seems lost. We left this character last time. He was with an old wizard in a cave. And with his daughter that takes care of him goes out and steals little bits of magic that are left in this apocalyptic fantasy world and brings it back to this old wizard. And he can put like a glamour spell on his cave, and it makes it look like an old wizard's castle and makes it look all cool. Mm-hmm. But this guy Hum needs this. He needs this magic from this captured elf from Ridgetown. And this old wizard has some of it. And the last issue, the wizard's daughter hobbled his unicorn where it couldn't go anywhere and then stuck him there with the old man so he couldn't go try to retrieve this magic that he needs to revive his wife who's trapped in some kind of interdimensional limbo. And so he steals a little bit of this magic from the old man to heal his unicorn that he has. It's actually a pentacorn. It's got 5 horns, but it's a big demonic unicorn creature. And he heals the horse and he rides back to this Ridgetown, and he gets in, and he gets there just in time when all seems lost. He is able to this is going to be a big spoiler. I don't know how many people are reading this book, but I don't really find any other way to talk about this or build it up. I don't just say what happens, because this is number 3. It's still got more story. I don't think I'm ruining the overall story by giving this part away. Okay. We've been waiting for this since issue 1. Okay. So he has this magic ring that supposedly contains his wife's soul or essence or whatever, and he uses this magic at the last minute, and he creates this ultimate warrior knight appears on the battlefield down below where this battle is going on, and just takes out the enemy, sends them on retreat. It takes 3 seconds. This knight is just such a badass. And then when the knight comes up and they say, "Remove your helmet, good knight, and who saved our realm," pulls the helmet off. It's the guy's wife. He brought his wife back out of this limbo, and the guy's wife just happens to be like an elf warrior like night, and it stops there, and then we're gonna go on to see like what's gonna continue to happen. But man, I love this book. I can't say enough good things about it. I would definitely say it's my pick of the week every time it comes out, just because it is so original. And as much as I love Batman, Superman, and all that stuff, it's like this is something totally unique that I haven't read. It reminds, like I said, it reminds me of those like Nemesis books from way back, and a little bit of like Elf Quest thrown into it, and a lot of humor thrown into it too, because it's like I said, this is a world where, let's say, like in Middle Earth, had Sauron won and got the ring back, and like just destroyed all civilization and created this living hellhole. That's kind of what this world is. It's like some hero goofed up way back when, and the bad guy won. And this is like the aftermath of a fantasy world where magic is pretty much gone, and there's little bits of magic and magic creatures still in the world, but it's mostly all gone. And it's just kind of this decimated, ruined fantasy world, and this guy Hum is in it. And he's just kind of like, I think he's like a bard or something, otherwise, like when he's not like kicking ass. But a real good book, man. I highly recommend Coda to anybody. Actually, I would say it's a little adult. It's not really for kids. It's got some swearing. It's really violent, but I love it. I absolutely love it. And anybody that digs fantasy, whether it be Conan, whatever, I mean, I think you'll dig this book. It's pretty hardcore and it's good. So that's Boom. Coda number 3 from Boom. And that'll do it for those. And moving on to DC.
Nope. That will not do it from Boom.
Oh, wait, I forgot. Oh, did you read some? You read some.
I read some Boom. I read Derek Loffman's Ruin World.
Oh, okay. I forgot that you. I thought you.
Yeah.
Read.
I read Derek Loffman's Ruin World. This is the first of a 5-issue miniseries, written and the art both by Derek Loffman, who was a writer and artist on Adventure Time.
This is the other one that I was going to talk about that I wanted to read. I didn't get to it, but it looked really cool. It reminded me a lot of Scotty Young's style.
It really does look like Scotty Young. In fact, when I first saw it, I thought it was a Scotty Young.
Yeah, I did too. I had to look at it to see who actually did it.
But it's not. But it's still really, really good. So the premise is you have these two adventurers. Okay, you have Pogo the pig and Rex, which is like the cat, wolf, whatever he is, right? And they're off on adventure. You know, they're questing. They're looking for treasures and fame and fortune and everything like that. And Rex is kind of a hothead. Pogo's more the, scaredy cat type of character. And Rex makes Pogo go into this castle, keep type thing, this tower, where he finds this treasure chest, and it has this enchantment on it. He was told long ago, don't mess with enchantments. He messes with it anyway. He summons this like Cthulhu type monster from the depths.
Oh, that would explain the cover.
That they have to fight, and they end up finding this map, and hilarity ensues. There's also a side little thing, like a flashback with this character called Barry, who apparently is like this scavenger type character. But this is from Kaboom, which is more their all ages section of the house.
Yeah.
The artwork is fantastic. It's got that kind of Scotty Young feel to it, that kind of cartoony kids feel, but it doesn't have that. It feels more like a 90s cartoon type art instead of like a new, like today's, like everything is like wiggly fluid art. Like these characters actually have like some substance to them. So I really dig it because it kind of reminded me a little bit of I Hate Fairyland, and that's I love that book. I Hate Fairyland from Image, which is a Scotty Young book.
It looks really clean. Like the artwork, it looks like a lot cleaner, a little less detailed Scotty Young work. It's very solid lines and stuff.
Yeah,
it's not sketchy at all, but it's very cool looking. Like I said, I wanted to read this one, but I just didn't get time to read it. But it looks very cool.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So definitely that's one I would say people pick up, especially since it's an all ages book. It is really, really good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to check that out afterwards. Maybe next week I'll throw in a little quick blurb on how I liked it. But I can already tell the art-wise, it looks great. The cover looks great. The characters are cool and unique looking. I love adventure stories. Like I said with Coda, I'm a big like fantasy adventure story reader. Like I'm a big Tolkien fan, a big Robert Howard Conan fan. Love that stuff. I love anything to do with monsters and dungeons and sword fighting. So I'm gonna dig it probably.
It's a good book. Definitely a good book.
Yeah, Boom's surprising me a lot with how good some of the stuff that they have. I mean, I don't mean that as an insult by any means. I just was, like I've said a million times, I've always considered them more like this is the more all ages publisher,
right,
that does this. And man, they really come up with some really cool, unique titles that, like I said, Coda blows almost everything away from the big two for me when it's out.
Definitely a good one.
Yeah. Moving on to DC. What did you read from DC this week?
I read Superman. I read Superman. Yes, I did. Because you recommended it. Of course, you said something Kara did was caused some major ramifications.
Yeah.
So, of course, I had to see what Kara did because I'm a huge, I'm a huge Kara Zor-El.
Yeah. Well, that's why I knew you'd want to, if it had Supergirl in it, you were going to want to read it.
So this is Bendis. This is him. This is taking place. These events take place after the first arc in the weekly Man of Steel book.
Yeah.
And
so if you haven't read Man of Steel, you probably at least need to see the last panel of issue 6 to figure out what's going on here. Because I don't know. We probably don't want to ruin this. Spin probably doesn't want to ruin this one.
This one I don't want to ruin, but there is something huge that So Kara is in Man of Steel. They've been fighting. What is it, Rogol Zar?
Yeah, Rogol Zar, I believe is his name.
Who they find out is he's the one that destroyed Krypton. And during the Man of Steel storyline, the first arc in Man of Steel, he also destroyed the Bottle City of Kandor, which is Kara's home.
Yeah, and that's she was upset enough to want to murder the guy, or she was going to kill him. I apologize for my asshole neighbor once again. I don't know what this guy is literally doing this on purpose. He's just running the mower outside my window right now. I don't know what I can do about it. If I go out there and tell the guy to stop, I'm probably going to punch him right in the nose. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to jail in the middle of our recording here. So hopefully he'll just move away in a minute. Let's move him away.
Move him away.
I'm about to go pull the spark plug out of his mower. The guy's a real asshole. I've never done anything to this guy, and he does this shit to me all the time. I don't know what his problem is. But anyways, yes, Superman. With Bendis, I have been very impressed with what Bendis has done with Superman. I went on a big tirade on Facebook about, I've done it several times, about how much I don't like Bendis. Oh, 1 second, here he comes. This guy's such a dick.
We were very critical about what Bendis was doing over there at Marvel for quite a while. There were some story arcs that didn't make sense. There were things that he did that just were out of the norm, that weren't really, we were not really fans of. So the big
three problems were Spider-Man and Age of Ultron, Wolverine and Sue Storm killing Hank Pym in Age of Ultron, extra Wolverine in Battle of the Atom, a lot of continuity errors there. Civil War II didn't make any sense. It was pointless. Changing Tony Stark's personality and making Carol Danvers a big asshole. Those were all my gripes with Bendis up to this point. But Bendis seems to be comfortable with Superman. He seems to be doing a good job with it. He's
doing a great job with Superman so far. Man of Steel's been really, really good. And this new book, taking place after, like we said, the first arc of Man of Steel, Lois and Jonathan Kent went off with Jor-El.
Yeah, Jor-El is still alive. He was actually Mr. Oz a while back, and I believe he was under. There was something where he was under the control of some other being at one point, and we don't know if Jor-El is Mr. Oz or if there's somebody else called Mr. Oz that was coming through Jor-El. But somehow that was broken, and now he's just Jor-El traveling the galaxy, and he's still alive. And Superman still doesn't trust him. And so they don't really know. He don't really want to pass the kid off to Jor-El, but Lois wants to go to and write a book about it. And Jonathan Kent does have this weird solar flare problem that can just erupt at any moment and kill anybody around him. So he wants to go figure out why that is. But one of my favorite parts of this book was in the middle of the book where Superman takes off to go find his family. Or he says, I really need to see my family right now. And he just flies into deep space. And he comes across that armada that's like way out in deep space, and they're heading for Earth to conquer it. And he destroys this whole armada of warships. And then he's like talking about like how satisfying it is to think that their leader is now wondering how in the world he knew that they were coming, that he was just randomly happened to be there and see them coming. And there's like now they're gonna think he's like just like he can see the future even or something. Like they're gonna freak. Like, why is Superman here in the middle of deep space that just happened to intercept us? But that was one of my favorite parts of the book.
There was also a very interesting part in this with him and Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Which really kind of caught me off guard the way Martian Manhunter was talking. And knowing the end of the book kind of made me want to go back and think some more.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if that really is Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Because why would he's always been a benevolent, peaceful being that's fought for the people of Earth, his new adoptive world, and now he's trying to talk Kal-El into taking over the planet. And I think that's and forcing people to live a certain way and forcing people into the future. Because he wants a united world that's like Mars used to be, where everyone was united as one people of Earth and a spacefaring race, like have their own, deep space travel and colonization and stuff like that. And Martian Manhunter wants to move humanity in that direction. And when he uses the word force, like he says to force their hand or something like that, then Superman looks at him like, force? I'm not into forcing anybody to do anything. So that was a weird out of character moment for Martian Manhunter, to the point where it makes me wonder if it's not something to do with maybe the Legion of Doom or maybe it's that other Martian. I can't even fucking remember what that guy's name is. But
right, I know who you're talking about, yeah.
But maybe it's that dude. It's like, I don't, what was that?
What?
Jess or something. But no, it was a weird, out of place Martian Manhunter moment. I think it's what's kind of cool about Bendis in this case is that Superman's been kind of stale for a little while. I mean, Rebirth has been great. Like, I love what Gleason and those guys did with Rebirth Superman, but Bendis will shake things up. Like, destroying Kandor is a big deal. And doing what he does at the end is a big deal. Right. And it's like he's actually putting some real change in Superman's world and changing it up a little bit. So I applaud Bendis so far. It remains the consistency remains.
Right. I mean, I really enjoyed this. I'm normally not a Superman reader. When it comes to the Super Family, I'm usually pretty much in the Supergirl camp. I'll read Supergirl or Superwoman when it's Lana Lang and Lois Lane with the Superwoman powers. But yeah, I'm pretty impressed with Bendis so far on both Man of Steel and Superman. I think it's a breath of fresh air to Superman with what he's doing. He's definitely changing things up. He's taking established canon that we've had forever and adding elements in there that kind of add to it, change it a little bit, but it's still not like completely like retconning everything. So, because we still know Krypton was destroyed. We know now this Rogozar guy had a hand in it. There's still, I mean, that doesn't negate anything that Brainiac did, because there was always those stories of Brainiac.
Oh, I'm imagining that Supergirl's story is going to get real interesting, too, because she, at the end of Man of Steel, Kara went off to go find out who Rogozar is and to find out who knew about him and for how long they've known about him and who's been covering this guy up. Because through all of their, Kryptonian knowledge, that nobody had ever heard of this guy before. So somebody's been covering up for this dude attacked Superman, and is trying to destroy all Kryptonians. And they still don't know why he wants to destroy all Kryptonians. We don't know what Krypton did to this guy. Maybe Krypton destroyed his home planet and all of his people, because he seems to be the only one of his kind. Nobody seems to know who he is or even what he is. So, I mean, Supergirl's about to get real interesting, too, because she's about to go off and find all this stuff out. And I imagine that'll tie back in with Bendis' Superman later on.
Right. All right, what else do you have from DC this week?
I got Detective, let's see, Detective 984. This is basically Batman is trying to convince Black Lightning to lead this new team, because the team with Batwoman and Clayface and all that's kind of disbanded now, and he wants to reform, I guess, that team with like Duke and Cassandra Cain and what's her name? Orphan. What is that? Cassandra Cain? Is that her name?
Yes, Cassandra Cain.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you got Orphan. You got I don't know if Spoiler's still involved, but she's around. I don't know if Tim Drake's going to be involved in this. I think they went off to kind of start their lives and work on some other thing. But you're going to have basically some form of that team from Detective with Batwoman is going to be now under Black Lightning's leadership. And because Black Lightning, Bruce goes to him because he says, I don't need a commander or a military person or whatever. He goes, these kids, what they need is a teacher. And he's a teacher. So
right.
They said, what I need, instead of somebody like Kate being in charge, I need somebody like you who's an actual teacher that can teach these kids and can challenge them and get them to do what they need to do. And he doesn't really want the job, but that probably makes him the right guy for it. But in the meanwhile, you've got this dude that's got this, he's got some kind of alien mask, and he's going around and attacking members of the team. Like he attacks Orphan in this, and Black Lightning comes in, and there's a fight at the end. But interesting to see. We're going to start seeing the formation of a second wave of this team that Bruce is trying to build with the Signal and Orphan and all the kids that he's got now. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Azrael's going to be part of this or if he's still with Batwoman or what. But pretty interesting stuff. It's kind of cool to see Batman start this thing and then it failed. Like Batman had this team and it failed. So now this is the second phase of that team with a different leader. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of getting interesting there. So that's Detective 984, pretty good. Let's see what else we got. Flash number 50. This is continuation of Flash War. It's basically Hunter Zolomon. Professor Zoom is now become a Flash because he's unlocked the Sage Force and the Strength Force, mm-hmm. which flow alongside the Speed Force. So now he's like this kind of ultimate Flash. He can control the Sage Force, makes him smarter. The Strength Force makes him stronger. And he basically tells Wally and Barry, he takes out the whole Justice League with these new forces, these new powers he's got. And all the Justice League are laying around, and Barry and Wally are still standing there. And he's basically like, all these years, I've watched you look up to these other heroes and follow their orders when you should have been commanding these. You're more powerful. The Speed Force and all these other forces are more powerful than any of these heroes. All of them combined couldn't stand up to you if you were to unlock these new powers. And but they figured out that Wally West's memories from being trapped in the Speed Force, when they come back to him, they send this ripple through the Speed Force, and it affects Zoom. Like it knocks him out. So Barry Allen comes up with the idea to defeat Zoom, they're going to have to just flood Wally with all of his memories and talk about, like, he has to let go of the memories of his family and has to worry about what's going on right now, and he has to just accept everything, and it screws up Zoom's hold on these powers. But the Flash War still continues. It doesn't stop there. So right. We're gonna. This is all. We'll get everybody back. What they did is they broke they broke the time thing. They broke the thing with the Speed Force where you can actually travel time. So now no speedster can travel backward and forward in time, even with the Cosmic Treadmill, from what they did, because they ran all three of the Wally and Barry and Hunter Zolomon all run so fast that they just destroy pretty much. they're tearing up the earth basically until they get them to stop, and then after they get done, there's this big like rumble, and they've cracked like the time barrier or something again, where they've broken it so nobody can go back and forth in time, and now the 25th century good guy Captain Cold is now trapped in our time, and he can't go back. So now he's pissed at Barry for that, and everybody's pissed at Barry all the time. But we're still continuing on with this. Wally is. We're still trying to find out. They're trying to figure out how, if it's possible at all, to get Wally's children out of this limbo that they're in, because of what Eobard Thawne and Zoom did. So we're still working on that. But Flash number 50, it was a bigger issue this time. I'm not sure I don't think it was a double size this year. I think it was just slightly bigger than a normal issue for number 50. But you know me, I love the Flash. Can't really throw any critique on it. The art does get a little wonky in a couple pages. I will say that. But overall, fantastic. I love the Flash. And finally, Plastic Man number 2. Gail Simone's Plastic Man's continuing to be pretty good. He's looking for the Suave Prince in this one, who is a little kid that actually saved him, saved his life, and got him out of a situation with the cops. And the kid disappeared. So he's looking for this kid that calls himself the Suave Prince, and he ends up having to fight Man-Bat. And it's really weird because it's like somebody is trying to blame I think you read the first issue. Somebody's trying to blame the Justice League for crimes, for taking out these gangsters and stuff. And it turns out that at least one of the people involved is Man-Bat. And so Plastic Man has to fight Man-Bat, and he has a even though he's stretchy and stuff, we find out he can still feel pain. He bleeds. He gets scratched by the Man-Bat, so he bleeds. I think that's what happens. He gets cut on his back somehow, and he finds out he can still bleed. But he takes a bunch of, which I don't understand how a claw can scratch him, but a bullet can't penetrate him. He gets shot by a bunch of bullets too, and they just bounce off him. But I'm not sure of Gail Simone's powers. If she's if I like the fact that he can bleed. I thought he was like pretty much indestructible. Like his elasticity controlled all the turmoil of all dimensions or something, or cosmic forces.
Right.
So how is he bleeding from a scratch? But he finally finds his courage and rescues the kid and everything. So problem with him bleeding, I just didn't think that was right. He shouldn't have bled.
Right.
Like, I don't think Plastic Man should bleed. But I like the dialogue. I like the way she's writing it. The artwork's pretty good. That's really the only thing that sticks in my craw about it, so to speak, is the fact that he got scratched by something and he bled, because he's like supposed to be super.
Elastic. That does not really make too much sense to me. I mean, I know he's been able to make himself bleed before. Like the first issue that he made himself bleed, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that a scratch from an animal hybrid would scratch him though. If a bullet traveling at 280 feet per second or whatever, if that can't go through him, how can an animal claw? But like I said, I like the overall approach that Gail Simone's taken with him, because it's kind of funny. It's kind of a fun book, and she's bringing in elements of the whole universe, the whole DC universe. It's not just centered around Plastic Man. He talks about his fear, like he fears Batman. Plastic Man is like scared to death of Batman, and which is weird to me because he's spent so much time with Batman. But I think this is maybe like, I don't know if she's like retconning his powers or doing like a whole retcon on him. I like her Plastic Man, but I think I like the Terrifics Plastic Man better. Like I like that that book better than the solo book.
Right.
But it's not bad. It's Gail Simone, and I'm not a huge fan. Like I'm hot and cold with her. She's written some stuff I like. She's written some stuff I really don't like.
Right.
And so, I mean, Plastic Man on the second issue, it's hard for me to kind of judge where it's going and whether it's going to turn out to be fantastic or just I'm going to hate it. But like I said, so far so good. But there are a couple little things in this issue that kind of bothered me that I don't think would happen to Plastic Man, and that's where I'm like artistic license comes in, I guess.
Right.
Like he's free to change the character here and there. But that seems like a step back to make him not completely indestructible.
Okay.
But pretty good book. I would recommend it if you're an old time Plastic Man fan, and they get into some of his old E.L. O'Brien history and stuff like that. Like if you're an old school Plastic Man fan, you'll probably dig it. That part with the scratch might bother you. But other than that, it's funny. I like the humor of it. She hasn't pissed me off with the writing, really, in any way, just except for that one thing.
Right.
And the artwork is solid. So I guess I'd recommend it, but I'd cautiously recommend it. Maybe read the first arc, like the first 6 issues, and if it just takes a dive, then give up on it. But so far so good. It's not too bad. I like it.
Sounds good. Anything else this week?
That's it for me.
All right. Once again, this has been Renegade Reviews. We'll come back at you every single week with more reviews. We want to thank you for joining us. Make sure you come back on Fridays on Twitch TV. Check out the NRR podcast. So until next time, make sure you hit your comic book stores, get those comic books, pick up a trade, pick up a back issue, and as always, be good to your books. Thank you and good night.
Good night, everybody.